Welcome to Global Economic Press, the podcast that delivers trusted global finance and economic news, analysis, and reports, empowering leaders and investors with reliable, timely insights. I'm your host, Alex Brady. Today, we're diving into a critical topic that could redefine the landscape of international hiring: compliance management. We'll explore a new report from TalentBridge's Chief Sales Officer, Daniel Youssif, which argues that compliance management is not just a legal necessity, but a decisive factor in global hiring. Stay tuned as we unpack how this often overlooked aspect can make or break a company's ability to access global talent. Federal wage enforcement recovered more than $259 million in back wages for nearly 177,000 workers in fiscal year 2025, and worker classification sits near the top of the enforcement agenda. Against that backdrop, TalentBridge, a national staffing and workforce solutions firm headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, today published a new report from Chief Sales Officer Daniel Youssif, arguing that compliance management has become the deciding factor in global hiring, not the legal afterthought most employers still treat it as. The report describes a pattern Youssif sees repeatedly in client conversations. Employers take a domestic hiring mindset global, and the gaps surface fast. Worker classification handled late, compensation structures that do not translate across markets, cultural fit treated as a soft consideration rather than a delivery risk. Meanwhile, the global talent map stays uneven, with labor surpluses sitting untapped in some regions, while shortages drive up costs in others. Weak compliance management, the report argues, quietly decides which companies can actually access that talent and which only talk about it. Youssif's central claim is that compliance management is infrastructure rather than paperwork. It has to cover worker classification across jurisdictions, cross-border tax and labor law, data privacy, and contract structure, and it has to be in place before the first offer goes out. The report also takes on the most common objection head-on: the belief that compliance work slows hiring down. His experience points the other way. Late compliance is what stalls deals. Every stalled global hire I have seen in the past 2 years stalled for the same reason, said Daniel Youssif, Chief Sales Officer of TalentBridge. Somebody treated classification and contracts as the paperwork phase instead of part of the plan. By the time the lawyers get pulled in, the candidate has taken another offer. Clients assume compliance management slows things down, and it is the opposite, he added. The teams that build it into the first conversation move faster because nothing surprises them at signature. The fastest-moving companies in TalentBridge's client base treat compliance as a partner-level responsibility rather than an internal legal checkbox. The ones that stumble treat it as an afterthought instead of a hiring input from day one. And the costs are concrete: delayed start dates, failed audits, candidates walking away mid-process. The difference between a signed engagement and a stalled one often comes down to whether the staffing partner brings real compliance fluency or just a disclaimer. TalentBridge builds compliance into project scope from the outset through its Statement of Work Project Resources practice. The report ends on a larger claim. Compliance management has crossed from legal requirement to competitive advantage, and employers without it are narrowing their own talent pool by default, conceding candidates and markets to competitors that can hire anywhere with confidence. The full report, The Return on Investment Advantage of Using an Employer of Record Service Instead of Building a Local Entity, is available on TalentBridge's website, and employers planning global hiring can start a conversation at Partner with TalentBridge.